How's it going, guys? I ain't even gonna lie to you. This early start got me way behind. But since I got you here, let me fix this real quick. All right, since I got you here, if you look really, really close, let me take my glasses off. If you look really, really close, I have bags under my eyes, but I also have a scar. Okay? Now, how did I get that scar? Where did that scar come from? Well, that scar came from one of the most... Let's see if we're good now. There we go. And I can't get the lighting to work. That's going to stress me out. That scar, here we go, came from one of the most... Hold on, I got to hook this up. That scar came from one of the most... Oh, there we go. At the moment, this is what I did not know. I didn't know at the time, but looking back now, that scar is a memento to one of the strongest relationships I ever had. A relationship based on trust, compassion, and love. I got this scar from my first ever true stunt partner. Yes. Okay. So on an NAIA cheer squad. Okay. Does everyone know what NAIA is? Okay. If you don't, I'm going to take a second, right? So there's D1, there's D2. I feel like I'm so far away. I'm having issues today, so I apologize. But there's D1, there's D2, there's D3. NAIA is like the private Christian version of D3, right? So on that team, you have a few types of athletes, right? You have the I cheered in high school, but it was just for fun cheerleader. You have the I've done competitive cheerleading my whole life, but I broke my ankle, so now I'm here cheerleader. You have the I came here for music, but cheer sounded like fun type of cheerleader, right? And then you have the I didn't make it into KU this year, so I'm just going to cheer here until next year's tryout cheerleaders. Then there was Sabrina. Now, Sabrina was a small town girl. Okay, she did every sport in high school. She was the type to work really hard and be super passionate, but she never took herself too seriously, right? What I loved about Sabrina is she was always down to practice. Now, most athletes, their motto is, I practice, I practice. Their motto is, I practice at practice. And what's annoying, what's frustrating is like, those are the same athletes who are like, oh, coach won't let me fly in practice. Oh, coach won't let me throw my whatever at a game. And it's like, friend. Remember that practice? The practice that you practiced at? Whose practice? That's my practice. We use that practice to make sure that we tighten up and get the skills that we're good at better. It's not the practice that we use for you to figure out what you're good at. Do that on your own time. But anyway, let's come back, right? One time after practice, I said to the squad, hey, I'm really trying to figure out this toss hands. Does anybody want a partner stunt after practice? Sabrina was like, well, I can't after practice, but we can go at 3. I was like, bet, I'll see you there. So we practiced, and it was like a lackluster practice. It wasn't the best practice ever. But when we got done, she was like, tomorrow? For sure. I'll come back tomorrow. And every day after, for the rest of the semester, we just practiced. And for at least 30 minutes, right? And what was so powerful about it, and you never know what's life-changing, right? Until you look back. But what was so amazing about our practices, it was just me and her, right? But we started communicating our needs, right? So whenever something wouldn't go right, whenever she would mess up a stunt, she would, hey, let's rewind and let's act like that never happened, right? And it's funny, it's a joke, but it was our way of saying, hey, let's move past that, right? Like, don't hold me to that mistake. Let's just get better. What a great concept. And then we started brainstorming ideas together, right? We tried to figure out problems. So one of the things was like, okay, we know that we can do a partner lib. We've seen a video of it. I don't even know if it was a video. We didn't have a lot of internet back then, right? Like we didn't know how to, I didn't know the grip for the partner lift, but we knew we could do a partner lift. So we was brainstorming. She looked and she was like, hey, what about those rings? They were like gymnastics rings and they were really high up, but not if you're partner stunting, right? She's like, I could hold on to the rings while you figure out your grip. Bet, let's go. Right. And so we would just work together to figure out and solve these stunt problems, because our coach, first of all, it wasn't her job, right? It wasn't her job to teach us how to partner stunt. If we wanted to do it so badly, figure it out. But it was just incredible, like the way we navigated through those things. And we would just be practicing and, right. So we would be practicing different stuff. And every time we practice something, we learned like, hey, our train of thought was, hey, okay, we can do this, right? We got our hands. How do we do extension? And like I said, hey, we have our hands extension. How do we do a hands lift? And so we always try to, get things better. And what we were like is like, hey, we have a fold down with no spot. We would hands fold down, and we're like, hey, we have an arabesque pop off, no spot. So an arabesque fold down with no spot won't be any different. Makes sense to us, right? So just me and her in the gym, no mats, and we throw it, right? What I didn't know, what we didn't anticipate, is the fact that when she was going to twist, she was going to push me this way while she pushed that way so she could twist. So I'm going this way, she's going that way, and somebody has to save her life. She realized I went that way. She stopped twisting because she was like, no one's there to save my life. And I was like, no one's going to be there. And she came down head first, scratched me on my face. I caught her like barely, caught her shoulders, her feet are like up here. And then I set her down and we fall together and we laugh. Like, that was dumb. And that's how I got this scar on my eye. But that was a loving, compassionate, like, your stunt partner could probably be your life partner if that's what you guys were focused on. If you weren't focused on being cheerleaders, like, you guys grow so close, right? So let's talk about partner stunts. What are the basics? Where do we start? When I start with partner stunts, I start with the boys. Okay. I like to mitigate problems, right? I don't like to just walk in and then deal things when we get there. Sometimes you have to, but so the first thing I do is I talk to the boy, I bring him to the side, and I say, hey, one thing. I never want you to mention your interpretation of your flyer's weight. Don't do it. I don't care if you're like, hey, you're light today. I don't care if you're like, yo, you feel super. Don't mention how you feel about your flyer's weight. That's where I start. Okay. The reason I do that is because, no, I can't go into it. I have a podcast on that goes really deep dive. Check it out. Ooh, before we keep going, because a lot of you guys are like, hey, coach, I love what you're doing, but it's way too long. I respect it. And some of you guys are like, hey, I just want the info. I don't want all the extra. No sweat. Okay, starting next week, I'm going to have a blog about everything that's on these lives. Okay, so the blog is just going to be pure info. How to partner stunt, how to group stunt, how to teach a handstand. Then I'm also going to have a podcast. Okay, the podcast also going to go over the things we go about in the lives. The podcasts are no longer than 10 minutes. So if you like what's going on, but you don't have time to catch all of it, I definitely understand. 20 minutes is a long time. Check out my blog, podcast, all dropping next week right here at Coach Zo. Since we're already on a break, don't forget, today's episode of the ZoShow is brought to you by Distal Point Tumbling. Now let's get back to the action. So once we have that understanding, hey, we're not going to discuss our flyer's weight, and they agree to that. We're not going to discuss our interpretation of how our flyer feels in the air. Cool, let's go. I like to make things easy because then people get excited, right? If they start something and they're like, oh, it's hard, then they think that they suck, and then nobody wants to do things they suck at. So we do shoulder stands we do shoulder straddles to shoulder stands. UCA has this really good rule about calling it shoulder straddles and not shoulder sits, because when you're saying you might say shoulder, and that's, so we go shoulder straddle to shoulder stand, and they're like, oh, wow, I feel like this is challenging, but I got it up there, right? And then we teach how to come down. We teach that pop off. Do better than me. I have a hard time telling them the dismount, especially if it's like 1 or 2 people, always tell them to dismount before they go in the air. That's one of my rules from yesterday, right? So once we do the shoulder stand, then the next thing is the walk up to shoulder stand. Now there's a few different ways to do a walk up to shoulder stand. I'm assuming we don't have to do a shoulder stand. I'm just going to assume that. The walk up to shoulder stand, what I like to do, oh, you can do the Tarzan. Yeah, let's do the Tarzan. So the man will be in like a, my camera is so high. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. The man will be in like this lunge stance. Okay? Put their left foot in this pocket, step up, put their right foot on the shoulder, swing around, left foot, stand up tall, tall, tall. Okay? As the base, your job is to pull up as she stands up. Okay? So we're going to go whoop, whoop. Oh man, I'm having bad internet issues. That's sad. Okay? Whoop, whoop. Boom. Now we're in our shoulder stand. You can pop it off. You can walk it down. If it's the first time, I definitely have them grab hands and then jump off the front. So now that we have the shoulder straddle, we have the shoulder straddle to shoulder stand. We have the walk up shoulder stand. Then we do the Purdue up. Okay. The Purdue up is just going to shoulder stand from the ground, right? So it's almost like a toss shoulder stand, but there's an actual toss shoulder stand. So for the Purdue up, these are the flyer's hands. They're going to be open like this. No, I'm just kidding. They're going to be flipped underneath like this. The base, you're going to have your hands and you're going to actually interlock like this. I hope you can see that. Okay. Bases, get low. I have so many. Bases are so, bases are so lazy. We're going to be down here. 1, 2, dip, drive up. Okay. And then we're just going to leave room for our flyers to stand on our shoulders. Once they get on our shoulders, grab, grab. It's a shoulder stand. For the flyer, this part is kind of challenging for you. But what you want to think about is you want to drive your hips up, okay, by pushing down like you're getting out of a pool. Look at your feet, but keep your legs straight. It's so much prettier. Keep your legs straight. Get them apart how much you need. Set them on the shoulders. Squeeze your ankles together. Hips under. No place like home. Beautiful high V. And we're smiling. We are smiling, right? And those are the first basics that I would do whenever we're doing partner stunts. The next thing that I would like to do, so we have, you guys know, the next thing I would like to do is super easy. I don't have a name for it. It's not the Texas Twister. We'll call it the Roman candle. Ooh, that's beautiful. Call it the Roman candle, okay? So if this microphone stand is my flyer, I'm the base. Okay. Man, I'm struggling today. Anyway, if this microphone stand is my flyer, I'm just going to grab hips like normal, like a normal partner stunt. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive up and around. We're going to go around and down. A little bit of a fiasco with the microphone stand and a little bit intimidating if you've never done it before. But if your flyer jumps, all the flyer has to do is jump, drive their heels up, hold on tight, and then drive their head down, and it works. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know why, but it does. So that's the next thing I'll do, and that's where your bases are going to be excited. Your flyers are going to be excited. Like, yo, I don't know what's going on, but that was cool. You get it on camera. Everybody's going to love it. Okay, so if you have boys who are trying to partner stunt, if you have a group and you don't know where to start with your shoulder straddle. Call it a shoulder straddle. Go shoulder straddle, shoulder stand. Do the Tarzan. Okay, this version here is called the Tarzan. Tarzan to shoulder stand. And then the Purdue up to shoulder stand. And then lastly, the Roman candle. One more time for that Roman candle. I don't have anything in my room right now, but you're going to grab the partner. You're going to grab the flyer. The flyer's going to hold on to, she has to hold on to your wrist. And then she's going to jump, drive her shoulders down, drive her heels up, stay in a candlestick position. Boom, boom, boom. Your flyer's shoulders should be on your shoulders. The top of your flyer's back should be on your back here. And then she should roll off down. Okay. Now, thank you for watching the ZoShow. That's all I have for you today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link in the comments if you want to see these skills. If you want to see these skills coached, I'm going to set, it's going to be a Google folder in the link in the comments. Take a look. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I would love to answer. Hey, thank you guys for watching the ZoShow live. Let's get the tools that we need to help the people that we lead succeed. Peace. See you tomorrow.